Are you swamped, like so busy that your hair's on fire, hair's on fire, hair's on fire, like running around, have to say no to business, you're doing all your own paperwork, and whether you're in any kind of business, if you're doing everything yourself, you're your own assistant. One of the biggest questions I get from agents, realtors that are starting out in business, they're kind of 6 months in, a year in, and starting to get busy. When do I hire someone? I don't know when and when is the right time and how to do it. It just seems very daunting. And I know I felt this way too when I was starting out. And I just thought, I don't know how people do this. This is craziness. Like, you have to run around and show houses and book houses, and something changes, you got to go do that, and someone else calls, and you're working all hours of the night, and you're doing all your admin work early in the morning or late at night, and you're doing cards and all these things like 7 days a week. I think I didn't even take a day off the first couple of years. It was craziness. But I'm gonna tell you, there's another way, there's a better way in life, and you can buy back your time. Jan Martell wrote this amazing book called Buy Back Your Time. It's a blue book and you need to get it. It kind of explains why it's so important to leverage. Leverage is so different from delegating. And I know I've done a ton of videos on highest and best use of time and making sure you're doing the right things for your business to move forward. But I'm telling you, if you're an agent and you have it, meaning you're doing the thing, you're closing the deals, and you have all these leads that you're trying to follow up with, or people that you're working with, or clients, and you're working with multiple buyers and sellers, and you just have no time, you need help. You need that assistant. And I'm going to tell you, there's no ways around it. And I know it's such a pain in the butt. A lot of people do not want to have staff. They don't want to have the headache of dealing with someone to train and keep up with or be responsible for. That's the number one thing I hear people go, oh no, I don't want to think about having to help someone and making sure, how am I going to pay them like when I'm slow, and how is that going to work? I have one in particular client coach, and my God, has her life changed since she brought someone else on. What happens is, when you bring someone to help you and you leverage that person, meaning you don't just give them everything and walk away. They're touching base, you're checking in, you're having calls, you're training them. You're still there, but they're taking a lot of that load off of your back. So it opens that brain up more and you have more capacity to do more. Because at the end of the day, we all have the same time in the day, do we not? Yet some of those agents, I swear to God, all of us, we're eating in the car, we're running around, we have kids. If you may not even have kids, but you're trying to do stuff. How many of you are on the computer at the beach? Or in your hotel rooms, or doing stuff when you're trying to go on vacation? Heaven forbid you go somewhere, because that's code in real estate land when you go on a vacation, that everyone's gonna call you and say, I want to see this house. It's craziness. I don't know what it is. It's a total weird myth, but it's so true. Every time you go on a real vacation for fun, I promise you the phone will ring and it'll be like, hey, I want to see this house now. And if you don't have anybody in place, you're kind of like, sorry, I can't show it to you. So you missed an opportunity and you're beating yourself up about it, right? So figure out, this is one of the biggest things you need to do, is number one, write all the things that you're doing in your day. Kind of keep track of it, kind of like an audit, right? Really keep track of it. And if you've been calendaring like you're supposed to be doing and looking at your schedule all day long, what do you do? What do you do from the moment you get up to the moment you go to sleep? I ask my clients to do a laundry list, almost just like a list. You can do a voice memo all day long, just like for 2 weeks. Kind of like keeping a food diary, really. But this is like an activity diary of what are you doing all day long? Make that list. And at the end of the 2 weeks, go back and look at that list and see how much of the stuff you did could you potentially hire someone to do for $25 or less, maybe even a little bit more. Because at the end of the day, how much money do you make an hour if you're a realtor and you're successful? How much do you want to make? I hear people say, I want to make 500 a year, 500,000 a year. I want to make $1 million a year. Well, let's just use 500,000 for a number. There's 2,800 hours that you can work if you work a 40-hour week, 5 days a week, all year. 2,080 hours, okay? So if you work that, I'm gonna guess that most agents work more than that. So your average hourly rate, if you make 500,000 a year, that's pretty big for some people considering the NAR said that most people make like 30 grand a year. It's probably because you don't have an assistant to help you grow. But I digress. I wanna say this, your hourly pay should be $240 an hour, but you're sitting there doing $15 an hour work, $20 an hour work, $25 an hour work. It's so painful when you really think about it. That's like an aha moment of like, oh my God, how much work have I been doing that I could just hire someone else to do it? It's not that you can't do it. Of course, everyone says to me, it only takes me 5 minutes. I like doing that. I like checking the boxes and doing all that. That's a bunch of crap. I'm gonna call you out on it because it isn't help you get to your end game. It's not your highest and best use of time. And I know I talked about this already, but this is in particular about getting that assistant. And part of getting the assistant is getting getting your head straight of why you need an assistant and how it's going to move you forward in the business. So once you write this laundry list out and you realize, holy moly, I do have enough business and things for someone to do help me, the number one person I recommend you hire if you don't have anybody helping you is a transaction coordinator. We call them TCs in real estate land. Transaction coordinator takes everything from under contract to closing. It's a bunch of paper, it's sending it to the attorneys, sending it to settlement agencies, sending it to the other side of the deal, sending it to the lender, maybe writing up some addendums. I'm not sure. Every company does it differently if you hire a company to do this for you, or you can hire individual people per file. Now, I have a great transaction coordinator that costs about $400 per file, meaning per closing, that she will charge me at paid at closing. That's the best part of transaction coordinators, is they're usually paid at closing. So if you're not busy, that solves the issue with, oh my God, if I'm not busy, how am I going to pay this person, blah, 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 right? You don't have to worry about that, because unless you have a deal, you don't pay this person. But when you have a deal, you just give the file to them. They check in, they make sure that the loan's going okay. They make sure the appraisal's been ordered. They make sure that timelines that we have, right? Because we're out of the field selling houses, I would hope, not doing paperwork. They're checking everything and making sure that things are signed. They're checking and double checking the contracts to make sure the signatures are correct and the monies are where they're supposed to be. They look at the closing disclosures and make sure they're accurate, all those kinds of things. They're kind of like your boots on the ground in the sense of checking and making sure all the papers are going well. And they also check on your clients, because a lot of times you'll be getting the bings and the bongs, the texts and this and that on questions that if you had a TC checking in ahead of time, it would prevent some of those phone calls that you're getting from your client. So that's the power of a TC, and it's not that expensive. I see them from upwards to $500 a file, $600 a file, even as low as $200 a file. And if you use a virtual assistant company out of the country, you could potentially get them for less. So a TC is the first thing I would try to do if you've never used an assistant and get used to it. And you need to get on the same page with this TC, right? You want to talk to them once a week, maybe at least, find out what's going on in your files, let them report to you, let them know how you like to communicate, how you like things done your way. Most of the time, I've seen 99.9% of the time, they will follow your lead and what you want done and how you want done. A lot of times TCs are so skilled, they tell you how things need to be done, and it's usually amazing. I had one of the most amazing ones, and I'm so glad, but I had to let her go of my last company. I couldn't take her with me. I'm so sad, but I will find another one and train them just like how she did, because she did such an amazing job. Much love to my old TC. You know who you are if you're watching this. So that's number one. Number two you could get is a virtual assistant. I just mentioned it. Virtual assistant could be for your TC, but there are some amazing companies that have already trained these people, or they know where to find the talent. They're typically not in the United States, because the costs for a virtual assistant, like our dollar goes so far, like in the Philippines and different areas. And the great thing about the Philippines VAs I've noticed is they work on your hourly time frame, and they don't have any accent, which is a big deal in our areas if we're working with regular people like Americans that they have a difficult time hearing accents. So I love that about the Philippines VAs, but you have to figure it for yourself. Try some. There's so many different ones. There's VirtuDesk, I think I've heard. There's Sphere Rocket for another one. I'm currently using Summit Solutions, and they have a spin-off called Vast, which I use as a virtual assistant for my video editing here and my thumbnails and some of my marketing. And I'm about to hire a full-time assistant with them, and it's a very reasonable cost for 40 hours a week. And what's so great is you just write them the check. I don't have to worry about employment taxes and all of that great stuff like that. So that's another option. If you're not like wanting to deal with someone in office and have benefits and deal with vacation and time off and, writing the checks through your bank account, this is going through a vendor and you pay them directly. So that's another option. The third option is actually an in-person, live person assistant that helps you. And I've had multiples of them. I've had great ones. I've had not so great ones. I've had some good experiences and bad experiences. I probably could write a book and all the crazy stuff that happened to me. But I will tell you this too. Boy, does it teach you how to be a leader, because I'm still growing in that place, because it's frustrating, because mistakes are made, people. Mistakes are going to be made. And this is one of those positions that is so fast-paced moving. You need to hire the right person. So definitely take time when you're hiring someone in person. Try them out. Do a 30, 60, 90-day plan before you just take them on and give them everything. And be prepared to understand that mistakes are going to happen and they need to make the mistakes to learn for it. And also, you're making mistakes as a leader. You got to learn to lead. You have to learn to give specific instructions, to communicate explicitly, to clarify and verify, because implicit communication or benign communication where you're assuming, I just thought they would know how to do it, or that you can insert someone just based on some pieces of paper and checklists, process. That's not happening. I don't care who you are. I don't care how many years in the business you do. And you could even hire a really experienced assistant. What I have found is that you have to train them on how you like things. It is so personal. Every deal is so different. Every market's so different, and every agency is so different. So think about the things that are important to you and think about, how can I make this training possible? How can I tether this person, if you're going to do an in-person assistant with me, so that this person can help me leverage and do more out there. And it takes about a good while. I've had an in-person assistant now for about a year, and we're getting our groove going now, and it's pretty cool. But at first it was a little rocky, and that's typically how it is. And you need to expect that. So you shouldn't think that this person's going to be working every single minute of that 40-hour week for you. You're going to lose your mind if that's the case. They're human beings. They have capacity just like you. You can't just dump everything on them and think that they're going to be able to do everything perfectly. So make sure that you have guidelines. Make sure you know what their position is including. Make sure you're giving realistic expectations on what their deadlines are, and very, very clearly communicate what is important, what the priorities are in the position, and be kind. Be kind and be patient. That's something I'm working on because I'm very impatient. So for those of you that are big drivers and high C's, sometimes these assistants are showing up are high S and very sensitive. So you have to think about, who are you as a person, and can you handle an in-person assistant? So that's 3, and it's a great idea. But you also could do one that's in person, that's licensed, that can serve as a second person of you. They can do showings, they can be at the inspection, they can negotiate some deals with you. So there's a lot of power in having that right-hand person that really helps you, and it's a version of you if you can teach them how to do it. It's a really powerful team, and I've seen so many people do it so well. And I've seen assistants stay with their leaders or team leads for many, many years, and they almost just kind of run in tandem. And I love when I see teams like that. It's pretty freaking cool. So it is doable. You just have to figure out how to do it for you and your market and what you need for yourself. And also know yourself. Know who you are as a person and how you like to do things. If you're someone that doesn't like to communicate and follow through and give instructions and meet with people in person or even assistant, that's something you got to work on yourself first before you bring someone on, because you're just going to get frustrated and go through people and be like, this assistant thing is not for me. And you're going to lose out on an amazing opportunity to leverage your time, which I 100% think is so mandatory for anybody in this world to get that going for you. Because who wants to be doing all this paperwork when you can do so many other amazing things with your time and grow your business and life? Because if that's what you say you want and you want to be a business owner, you're really operating as an operator, not an owner, if you don't have people helping you and you're not using leverage to do the things you need to do. So that's really huge. One other assistant situation you could be doing in number 4 would be not licensed, but in person, kind of like a runner, kind of like an intern. I've had interns that worked for me and assisted me. You can use different people to do different things, like a client care person, someone that's an ex-teacher maybe can make some really cute Popeyes for you to deliver to your people. You could have someone do your client events. You could have someone help you with your marketing, your videography, your social media. Those are all definitely opportunities for you to outsource and have as support for you, so you're not doing it and cranking yourself. So I hope that helps you out in looking at the 4 options on how I see them for assistance to help you grow. And if you see yourself spinning like a crazy person and trying to get everything done, and your mountain of paperwork is still there, and you're basically losing deadlines and timelines, and you're not serving your client to the best of your capability, it is your duty to get help and get support out there. And those of you that are not as organized and know that they need to be, I highly recommend you find someone to help you get organized, and that assistant will help you. You will probably double your business. I know I did when I brought someone on. It made it so much easier. It doubled my business, paid for them, but then at the same time, I didn't feel like I was working as hard. Doesn't that sound great? Like, do it. Don't be silly and thinking like, I don't want to write this check, I can't afford them. I promise you, if you use them the right way and you don't make an excuse, the best accountability is when you have to pay someone the next week. You're going to make your calls. You're going to get the things done. You will never not get the things done if you know someone's counting on you and their family's counting on you. Wow, what an accountability is that? More than ever. Plus, our jobs are so lonely. It is nice to have someone else there on your team and you can bounce things off of, ideas off of, and it makes it more fun. You just got to get the right person in place and figure out if that's the right person for your team, and they support you. Because if you have other agents in your team too, and you have buyer's agents and you don't even have an assistant yet, I see that happen as well too. You need the assistant. Okay, guys? So I hope that helps. I hope you liked this video and I hope you subscribe. Love to know if you have an assistant and what was that little point, what made you realize I need help, and how did you bring that person on and find that person? Love to hear in the comments below. Have a great day and happy selling out there.